Hi. I've come to realize that if more time than usual passes between our Sarah Boone talks, I start to feel uncomfortable. But at least we have each other. And in the meantime, I, of course, have been thinking a lot more about Sarah Boone than is probably normal. Not for you guys, but for a normal person. Normal person. And I had put out a short about the do's and don'ts of family court, which I don't know if your YouTube feed works like mine. I don't see shorts a lot, or I'll go through phases where. So it's possible you didn't see this, and if you did, you're gonna have to listen to it again. If I could ever find it, I found it. Okay, here are the family court don'ts. Don't use your child as a pawn. Do not involve your child in your conflict with your ex spouse or use them to convey a message. Don't engage in negative communication. Avoid verbally attacking or making disparaging remarks about your ex spouse, either in person or online. Or if you're in prison and you don't have access to the internet, online not being an issue, don't do it in the letters to your ex husband and his attorney and the judge and your son. They don't have to put that in here because most people would never do that and aren't incarcerated, but even. Okay. Don't post about your case on social media. Again, does not apply because she's incarcerated with no internet, I hope. Do not disrespect court rules or the judge. Maintain respectful conduct in the courtroom and follow all procedures. Of course, they don't say in the courtroom and in your written correspondence with the judge. Don't lie or misrepresent facts. Be truthful and accurate in your testimony and documentation. Don't show up to court unprepared. Familiarize yourself with court procedures. Gather necessary documents and be prepared to testify. Like when it's time for you to be sentenced and you go to your sentencing, just put the pieces together that you're going to be sentenced that day. That day, your sentencing day. Do not disregard court orders. Failure to comply with court orders can have serious consequences. Do not use your child's testimony against your ex-spouse. Do not use your child's testimony as evidence against your ex-spouse or to manipulate the court, as if that's even an option here. Do not allow emotional outbursts to control your behavior. Try to maintain calm and rational decision-making, especially during emotionally charged situations. And this brings me to another interesting thing about Sarah, which is she does maintain, like, she never has outbursts. She maintains a very stoic, calm demeanor throughout all of her hearings and her trial. They're really, she's no business, obviously, but I know that for a while we thought, well, maybe she should be, like stun cuffed and handcuffs, and because she seems like a wild card, but she's only a wild card with this. And it's so interesting to me that she can maintain this control of her physical self and yet completely let loose with La Boca. I just don't get it. It's bizarre. So, and some other thoughts I've had about her family court situation, and I'm not sure. I think she started writing, for anyone who needs a quick recap. Brian Boone, her former husband, stopped paying alimony and child support, or at least lessened it for a while, and then stopped after speaking to an attorney. And he was, I think, trying to or at least he said, and I don't have a reason to doubt him, he was trying to renegotiate things before she even put a man in a suitcase and went to prison forever. But he had stopped paying alimony and child support whilst she was incarcerated, and they were waiting for the family court, for criminal court, her criminal trial to be settled, which it was. And then they're going to move on to her family court situation. The earliest letters I remember are 2022, but that doesn't mean anything because I haven't been on top of it. And she approaches her family court situation with reckless abandon, which is fine if you're talking about a summer fling or something that is not going to dictate whether or not you can ever see your only child again or how much you can. But Sarah does not care, and we have said this many times, about seeing her child because she did not take advantage of it when she had the opportunity in the free world, which would have also kept her out of a lot of trouble. And she also has not made of the taken any of the steps that someone who wanted to be with their child as soon as they possibly could would take. She did not take a plea deal. She has behaved in such a, I mean, I believe, and we've never really talked about this, but I think that if Sarah were a completely different person, but still managed to commit the act of putting someone in a suitcase and leaving them there to die, I think that she may not have even been charged with second degree murder. I mean, even with the video, I think if she had seen that video and had a completely different reaction to it and thrown herself on the mercy of everyone, she would probably be free right now. That's just my opinion if she was a completely different person. Or, of course, I mean, she did not have to end up with life without parole, but she saw to it, which shows you how important her son is to her. I find that she seems, and I could be wrong about this, but she seems more indignant to me in this family court situation than she did in her criminal court situation. And I'm not sure if that's true, first of all, because whatever hill Sarah is on is the hill she's going to die on. She's just that way, no matter what it is. I mean, even her texts to, you know, I mean, everything is an emergency. And she, in that body cam that I think I showed last time, where she at first has the cops pick her up at her former husband's house, and at the end of it, she's can't find her car keys, and she's crying about her car keys, carrying on like, bitch, just go home and go to sleep. It was nighttime already, like everything is an emergency. Everything is she's always overdrawn on her commissary or whatever that is, and just everything is an emergency for her. So this is no exception, of course. Although I do think that there's part of her that, well, I think part of the reason that she's more aggressive with her family court case is as opposed to her criminal, which I think she would have sat in jail putting off her criminal court trial forever, despite her claims that she couldn't wait to get the show on the road there. That isn't obviously not true. And however, this she would like to be done expeditiously because she wants her money. I mean, delicious delights, they don't pay for themselves. I also, and I know I have said this many, many, many times, but I cannot get over the fact that she learns absolutely nothing from experience. She is still writing all these emails and letters and texts, whatever, to Brian, to their son, to the judge, to Brian's attorney, and she still thinks that that is going to help her. She says in many of them, now we've got it in writing. Bitch, all we have in writing is you writing him 58 times a day with no response. And the things you're writing, not good. I'm so curious to see what happens with this. Listen, I just want to say that I predicted life without parole. I knew it. And I think, I think they're probably going to take everything away from her in this. If they don't take everything, they will take almost everything. And I would imagine that as far as her custodial rights to her son, I don't think they're going to allow that at all. I think that's going to be left probably up to him at this point because he's not a little boy anymore. One of the things that I went back to look at right before Sarah's trial, they held a Richardson hearing. And during that hearing, and don't ask me what that hearing is because I don't know. I just know what it's called. They brought up a lot of things about what was going to be admitted in as evidence and what wasn't, and Owens was flapping his gums all over the place. And a few of the things that were mentioned in that hearing have kind of stuck with me in the back of my mind. One of them was her intake evaluation, which I remembered as being succinct, but in my opinion, very accurate. We'll get to that in a second. And the other one was and I still remember it was number 22. And number 22 talks about the clause in their divorce agreement or custody agreement, Sarah and Brian's, that addressed her drinking. The wife shall not consume alcoholic beverages when the child is in her care. In the event that this provision is violated, the time sharing shall be supervised only, at the father's discretion, unless and until the mother completes a treatment program. I also think that things like that body cam, where they show her clearly drunk with her son, being picked up by the police officers that she insists on her son being confronted with or meeting, however you want to put it, is not a good look at all. And I've said this before, but I'm sure Brian has all of those tablet texts that she has sent him and to their son, which is not good. So that's why I say I really don't think this is going to go. I think this is going to go as poorly as possible for Sarah. I mean, there is no reason for it not to. One of the medical reports that the defense had wanted to submit, the state argued with because it was proven to be cellulitis, which, for those of you who don't know, is a bacterial skin infection. And I know that because I went through a phase in life where I diagnosed myself with what the worst thing was that I could find. And I mean, cellulitis won't kill you. I mean, it probably can because I don't mess around. And it turns out I didn't have anything, but whatever. Cellulitis is a bacterial infection that can be caused by poor hygiene. So Sarah is infecting herself with her own disgustingness. Not a surprise, Sarah. And it also made me think of, I wonder what injury that was, because to me, that injury following the stab wound was also an infection caused by her being disgusting. So I don't know. But it's nice to know that, and in that Richardson hearing, maybe we should go over more of that, but it shows you that because, I know I say that the state prosecution was a little lax or seemed that way, but they were on top of things and they called them out on a lot of things like that they were like, no, I don't think so. And there were certain things they could not bring up. Like, I don't think they could bring up the fact that George did not have a history of violence prior to meeting Sarah Boone. The intake evaluation was, I thought, on point in my unprofessional opinion, and I would like to get your unprofessional and professional opinions once I find it in 3 years from now. At intake, Sarah was noted as having panic symptoms and being semi-cooperative. She has poor insight. She has unrealistic expectations. She wants holistic treatment and does not like being held alone. Without a peep. I added the without a peep. Alcohol abuse is type spirits. Sarah was claiming she had not had a drink since February 23rd. She said that she uses alcohol multiple times a week. And intake screening also show the history of violence towards others and that anxiety was pre-existing before jail. Isn't that interesting? First of all correct. I mean, they're not making large umbrella diagnoses there, but all of those things are true. And I mean, I don't know what this intake process was, but I certainly would like to know how they look at her record. Is that where they come up with the past of violence? Or, I mean, I'd like to know how they're getting their information there. And if anyone knows that would be really interesting to know. Um, and the rest of it was all medical stuff. It was like 5% psychological and 95% COVID, and God only knows what kind of rashes she has. Anyway, this was a nice little check-in. I needed it, and if you didn't need it, I hope you at least enjoyed it. I will see you very soon. Oh, a couple things. A footnote, which is, remember the solemn vow that I made you take, that if I ever express even a passing interest in delicious delights, that you put me out of my misery? Well, I want you to follow the same protocol for jumping Java. Okay. Number two, I am going to see you out with some of Sarah Boone's mall glamour shots because I know you enjoy them. And if you don't, you can just, live your life. I mean, you have to stick around and watch them. I will see you very, very soon.